Shy Palmer is a proud Raleigh native, deeply rooted in the vibrant tapestry of her community, with an unwavering commitment to fostering unity and empowerment among people of color. She has dedicated her life to uplifting those around her. Shy's journey is marked by her fervent passion for teaching and agricultural training. Over the past 5 years, she has blossomed into a formidable urban farmer, sharing her knowledge and skills with others to cultivate self sufficiency and resilience. She has also dedicated herself to nonprofit work, leveraging her talents to address pressing issues within her community. Her tireless efforts have helped her raise awareness, mobilize resources, and drive meaningful change where it matters most. In Shy Palmer, we find a tireless advocate, a dedicated educator, and a passionate urban farmer, all committed to making the world a better place. Her journey exemplifies the power of community and the enduring impacts of individuals who champion the causes they hold dear. Y'all, let's welcome Shy Palmer. Now, our second guest this evening is none other than Grady Bussey. Grady has a Bachelor of Science degree in Recreation Administration from St. Augustine's University, class of 1996. He has been a part of the Raleigh Parks and Recreation System for more than a decade, and during this tenure, Grady has run multiple parks and community centers. Most notably, he was the director of the John Chavis Memorial Park. Grady is a true believer in building a better Raleigh through community engagement and creating positive recreation experiences in the centers that he supervised. Grady has served thousands of people by creating multiple special events. He is also the former chair of the African American Cultural Festival of Raleigh and Wake County. Now, this festival is the largest African American festival in North Carolina, and he is now in leadership at Onyxx Entertainment. So, these are my special guests. Good evening, good evening, good evening, Habari Gani, and all of that good stuff. I'm so
All of
glad
that.
that you guys could join us. Ujima, that's the word, collective work and responsibility. So we have already had our Umoja lighting, we have already had our Kuji Chagulia lighting. I just want to get into how do you separate this concept from Umoja? Because they sound alike in Swahili, the concepts are similar in English when you think about collective work and responsibility versus unity. How do you delineate between the two? I think that's a good place to start.
I would like to jump into that one. I think the difference for me is primarily that whereas Umoja is more conceptual, so the
Right.
concept of unity, I feel like Ujima is more concrete. So Umoja talks about just being unified in our thinking and in the way that we present. Whereas I feel like Ujima more so is concrete and talks about unity in the way that we move, in the way that we work, in the way that we carry things out. And I feel like that's the key difference.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think when you think of emoja, I kind of use the concept of adjectives. It's a description of something. How do you feel as I'm describing that? But when you talk about the actual unification or movement of something, it becomes an actual verb. So there is, show me that you want to, and so there is movement with Ujami, and so I think that's the biggest difference. There is the emotional concept of, hey, we're all here together. Then it's let's put our words into action.
I love both of those definitions. I think that that's something that when I came to Kwanzaa early on, the two of those always felt really, really similar. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
if we're unified, then ain't we working together? Not necessarily.
Right.
And I think that that's key for everybody to understand. Um, I love that the two of you both get at emotional versus action oriented, the
Right.
the thinking versus the doing. So what are some ways that we can make that jump, that transition between the thinking about it and strategizing around it and actually doing or putting that work into
Right.
action?
Well, let me just say this, that I think one of the realities about people, we have a natural desire to be a part of something, be a part of a big picture. You know, you'll see election times, you'll see movements, or you'll see something of a protest, and you'll see the natural unification of people. People want to feel like they are a part of something. And what happens a lot of times is that you'll get people that are moved by emotion, but it doesn't last long because then there's work that's involved in that. So what I always suggest to people, because I've dealt with a lot of people in my public service work, as well as just dealing with festivals and special events. What I explain to people is that you want to play chess. Like it's a slow moving process, and be comfortable with the fact that it's a slow moving process, because a lot of times people want to run out, let's save the world, let's do that, and then they don't last long. And what you're looking for with people is longevity. How do you solve issues and problems? And you got to be realistic with people. I think a lot of times we get caught up in the world that we're in now, whereas everything is right now in your face. And if it doesn't happen within 24 hours, you failed. But as we all know, most movements, most opportunities, most things that are tangible that last a long time take time for it to mold. And so there is that reality that, when we talk to people about anything dealing with something where in which change is going to occur, be reasonable and be realistic and let them know that it's not going to, things don't happen overnight. It is not an instantaneous scenario, even though we live in a very instantaneous world and we want the shiny penny to be right now, but that's just not the reality of it.
So true.
Yeah, I agree with what Grady was saying. So, a phrase I've heard in the agricultural community from another Black woman farmer named FARMacy, who's fairly well known, is just so her one of her big phrases is "We grow slow so we don't owe." And what she
There you
means
go.
by that is that you kind of like akin to what Grady was saying, you slowly build that momentum so that you can sustain it to make it more sustainable.
Right.
And I'm sure everybody knows the phrase "many hands make light work." So
Yep.
that speaks to the concept of collective work and responsibility. So you just we're growing slowly, but we're growing together. Okay, so we're all hands on deck. I use the same concept when we have like volunteer work days at Reclamation FARMacy, like on my urban farm. We're doing this together, all hands on deck. Many hands make light work.
I love that. And both of you are so correct in calling out the fact that as a community, we get all excited, we get all emotional, and everybody wants to talk and everybody wants to be part of the conversation. That's absolutely correct.
Right.
But I also need everybody to bring your hands and to bring yourselves. I
Right.
need you to come out on Saturday morning when we
Right.
Right.
go for the walk. I need you to come out on
Right.
Thursday evening after work when
Right.
you're tired and you still got
Right.
to feed the kids and everything.
Right.
That sense of collective work, I think, leads into that second part, responsibility.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
that's the key point that we get a little wishy-washy, we fluctuate. And if we can
Yeah.
nail that part down, we would be so powerful.
Yeah.
Right.
So powerful.
Well, but I
So
think I think that goes with ownership. Like, if I'm, it's one thing to be that person in the crowd and say, "Hey, I'm with you," but then when you take that sense of ownership and say, "Okay, well, give me a task," then it's a different realm then, because what happens then is, okay, now I have to be responsible. I have to. It's easy to be the person to say, "Yay, us." But when you say, I have a task for you and we are depending on you, that takes a different type of person.
Absolutely.
And I think that reality, that's where the cone approach comes in, where you have a whole bunch of people, but when you get your core, when it comes to responsibility, movement, I'm in charge. Look at me, what I'm going to do. It gets very small then.
It's very true. That funnel starts to
Yeah,
happen. Everybody
yeah,
shows up for the protest, and then a few more people show up for the meeting afterwards, and then there's a
that's right.
fewer set of people when it's time to and
Do
then
the
when you
work.
start asking for checks and donations,
Right.
it
Right,
dries up.
Yep.
So
right.
Yep.
that's yeah, that's deep right there.
Definitely.
Can we talk a little bit about this next one? What are our obligations? Because in the definition given to us by Milana Karenga, the founder of Kwanzaa, he speaks about our obligations to our brothers and sisters and what our responsibilities are there. So,
Mm.
what is that in terms of the community? What is that in terms of the nation? As Black people, what are our obligations to each other?
I really feel like my primary obligation to my brothers and sisters in the community is to uplift them, to teach them. I'm a natural teacher. That's something that comes naturally to me. I'm an educator, by nature and by trade now because I teach agricultural skills. But to teach them, to uplift them, to always like uphold them to a standard. We can do better. Here's how we can do better, and not just to criticize or critique, but to follow up with with the skills to help you do better, not
Right,
just the finger pointing of y'all got to do better, we got to do better, but here's
right,
how we can do better. Here's some ways, some tangible ways that we can do better. Here's some skills to help us do better. And I feel like that's my obligation to my brothers and sisters in the community, to in the nation, and just as a people in general. Folks know me as like the Kwanzaa Queen, the Black History Queen, the Juneteenth. Like I'm
yeah,
known like for
yeah,
being that girl. So
right,
I always value and prioritize that education. There's so many, when February comes, everybody's looking, they're tuned in on my page because they're like, oh, I know she's about to drop these gems. That's
right,
what I do. That's what I'm known
right,
for. I'm known for promoting that education, disseminating that information. And I feel like we each have our part to play, but I feel like education is a big
Yeah.
part of that. You know, their teaching skills is a big part of that. Giving opportunities is a big part of that. Whether that be, entrepreneurially or even in the community with things like the way Grady was, running the festival, promoting us, giving us opportunities to shine. You know, all of that plays a factor in uplifting us as a people.
right.
I
And
love
I
that.
agree, Shai. I think one of the realities I always think about, two things that have always been dear to me. The concept of Ubuntu, I am because we are. And so when I see someone that looks like me, I feel obligated to have that mindset that I'm here because we are here. And so if there is something that I can offer you, I'm obligated to that. If there and vice versa, I believe that if you have opportunities that can enhance me or our own community, you have a responsibility in that as well. And I'm a big believer in love yourself, love your neighbor as you love yourself. I think
Hmm.
us as a community, we have to recognize that there's brilliance in our own community. We have to be able to
Yeah.
support our own community. We have to be able to vote for people that believe in your concepts. We
Hmm.
have to be sincere about understanding that our neighbor is just as important as the people in your household. And so when we see things that we're not happy with, and it don't have to be necessarily even your own block. It can be
Yeah.
in another neighborhood. But when these people look like you, we still need to feel obligated that we are a part of the greater circle. I think one of the things about our generation is that we are a generation now that we have more people that are going to college now. We are people that it's not surprising that we're in leadership positions anymore. And so, but what we can't do is get away from the concept that, I'm here because I'm standing on shoulders of many others that we don't know. And I'm obligated and I'm responsible to make sure that as I build and as I mold, that I pass the information back to those that are behind me.
So people can stand on our shoulders now.
Absolutely.
That's it. It's like in the libation ceremony, it says, "May we build well now so that our children can pour for us." Those who come behind
Absolutely.
us have to have us as a baseline. We can't
Absolutely.
give them worse than we received.
Right.
Something else that is always important to me, Grady, when you were talking about it's not surprising to find us in leadership anymore. I agree, but whenever I move into a space or whenever I'm in a place where I am in leadership or I am, seen as someone special, whatever that means. Something that I always feel obligated to do is to find the other people of color in that room and to acknowledge
Right.
them wherever they are. I'm
Right.
going to be just as kind to the CEO as I am to the waitress who is
Right.
bringing, my
Right.
food to the young men who are passing hors d'oeuvres,
Mm-hmm.
to the janitor, to the restroom attendant. I'm going to be as kind to every person in that room, especially those other people of color, because I
Absolutely.
know this building doesn't run without them in it. This event does
Right.
not go off without them in it. So part of the obligation that I feel is to always acknowledge everyone. So I'm going to smile and say, hey, hey, what's up?
Y'all know that head
That's
nod.
the
You
smallest
see
thing.
another
You
black
know that
person.
head nod. Hey girl. Hey
It's
girl.
funny. I was in Japan. I was in Tokyo, and I was walking down the streets of Tokyo, and I had seen people of color, and we did the head nod, and I was like, the head nod is universal. Like it's around the world. Like
International.
it's international.
Everybody.
It is.
Everybody knew what that meant. Like
I
And
see
there's
you,
that
see me.
instantaneous kinship.
Yeah.
yes.
You know, I love this conversation so much already. I want to turn my attention to my good friend Shy. You mentioned another mutual friend of ours, FARMacy. She's bad. She's
She
so
is.
bad. So tell me a little bit more about your work at Reclamation Pharmacy and how that fits in with this principle in particular. Um, yeah, I can't wait to hear more about everything that you have going on because it's powerful.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited about it. Really proud of the foundation I've laid and the work that we've done thus far. Reclamation Pharmacy, there's just so much in a name, right? So, reclamation really just, so let me start with the pharmacy part. So, as you can see how it's spelled pharmacy, like farm a C, because we really believe that food is medicine, right? It's
Amen.
healing in so many ways. It's unifying to our community, and it genuinely, like, it heals our bodies, it heals our souls. But then reclamation really just harkens back to reclaiming a space at the table around food access, around land access, around agricultural skills, because y'all know, like, we're the baddest growers. We could grow anything, like anything we put our hands to. Black folks, we know how to grow it. Indigenous folks, we know how to grow it. Black and brown people
That's
know
right.
how to grow. But we're reclaiming a space at that table with those conversations around food access, around land access, because systemically we've been nudged out and pushed out of those conversations. So that's why it's aptly named Reclamation Pharmacy. And so our board, I'm just so proud of the work we're doing. Our board is comprised of Black farmers from all over the state, and Black growers and farmers. We've got Black legal and compliance people. We've got Black writers. We've got a Black accountant. We've got Black
Yes.
development folks. Our whole board is Black. It's just Black excellence from top to bottom. I'm so proud of the work we're doing. But essentially what we do is we're teaching agricultural skills to communities of color. because we want
Hmm.
to reduce food insecurity in marginalized communities. So we want to teach
Yeah.
folks how to grow their own food and as a way to reduce that food insecurity. So collective work and responsibility really comes into play when we're together on the farm, growing food together, learning together, volunteer work days, volunteering together, building together. Our first volunteer day was 50 people showed up, and we literally transformed the space. We
Right.
transformed the space. It was we took over an overgrown, abandoned community garden, and it was like night and day, just the transformation. And so
Oh,
that was really just harkening back to those phrases: many hands make light work, all hands on deck, everybody in, all in, and we've just built. We're building it together. We're building this together.
I love that. And the concept of like urban farming is not a new thing. It's what my grandmama did, you
Right,
know?
Right.
It's
right.
and she and her sisters were bad. Like they could point to a tree right down the street and name it, and like
Yep,
by its scientific name, and they knew exactly what to do with it.
yep.
And
The
they
benefits
could
of it.
work with clippings. Yeah, they could work
Yep.
with clippings. I can't tell you the number of times I was getting this hair hot combed, and my
Yeah.
mama would slip and get that kitchen, and my grandmama wouldn't say a word. She'd just head on out to the porch and snap off a piece of that aloe and come on back in.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was that. I mean, it's in us. Growing, like you said, is is something significant to our own culture. And when
Absolutely.
I tell you, I love that. So
Mhm.
excited.
Thank
So
you.
let's turn our attention to our friend Grady, because you have some new things on the horizon.
Yeah.
But I want you to talk a little bit about your work as a parks director and how that sort of drove you in this new direction in terms
Yeah.
of collective work.
Well, I think one of the things, being a part of Raleigh for over, close to 20 something years, I've always been a person to be able to, or wanted to be in the community and try to figure out new and exciting ways to serve our public. Through our Parks and Recreation Department, I was able to do a lot of unique things and really transform communities just because using the concept of, hey man, it's all hands on deck, let's get volunteers, let's do
Mhm.
things together collectively and create concepts that, we are all important in this city.
Mhm.
Everybody should have a harmonious community. Everybody should have a park where they can be proud of. Everybody should have opportunities and access to programs that that enable or better someone. And it should not
Hmm.
be a concern of economics and whatever is going on in your own home. And so I was able to meet a lot of quality people and do a lot of extraordinary things and figure out new ways to meet people's felt needs. And as I became the chair at African American Cultural Festival, we were able to do a lot of unique things and kind of change conversation on African American excellence and how do we get more
Yeah.
people at the table and how do we create more opportunities to show our African American brilliancy and not just be on Labor Day weekend. And then from there, what I've, as my time, the tenure for African American Culture Festival kind of went up, I tried to figure out new, improved ways for me to even spread out my horizon. And so what I've ended up doing was created Onyxx Entertainment. And with Onyxx Entertainment, what we're able to do is create events, but they're always purpose driven. And so we will do events that will not only be fun, exciting, and have a good time, but we're parting with a purpose. We just
Mhm.
completed an event a couple of weeks ago that was but and it was free to the public long as you brought hats, gloves, scarves for the homeless. And we were able to take all that we gathered, and we gathered hundreds of items to be able to bless those that were less fortunate and it was a great concept. People, I mean, we sold out, and people came out, and it was just a great experience. And so all the things that we're going to be doing is going to be twofold. One is going to be an opportunity for us to gather, have a good time, enjoy ourselves, but we're going to be leaving that place with some form of tangible, purpose-driven things to help those that are less fortunate. And that's going to be our concept. And the beauty is that it's an easy sell. We were able to secure, money. And it's really a good story that, Raleigh is ready for not just, hey, let's go do something fun for a Saturday night, but we have people that just kind of just sitting and waiting to say, all right, what's next? What can we do? How do we serve? And how do we get in front of people that are less fortunate?
Let's go back to Shy. Now, Shy, I know that you actually worked with Grady very closely for the African American Culture Festival. Can you give us a little bit of your perspective of how that event here in Raleigh and Wake County helps to demonstrate collective work and how that pulls our community together?
Sure. So I did work with Grady. 1 year on the African American Culture Festival. I was sort of like the liaison, helping folks who had the VIP experience, just like their concierge, if they needed anything, if they had any questions, if they had any special needs or anything like that. So I was fortunate to be able to assist him that year in that way. And then in subsequent years, my business, the for-profit arm of my business, Shy's Fresh Eats, was a vendor at the African American Cultural Festival. And everybody, if you're in Raleigh, you already know, like, the African American Cultural Festival is like a marvelous way to like bring us all together, to have fun, to celebrate our culture, to just have this vibrant, thrilling time. But it takes a lot of work. A lot of work goes into it. Grady and his team, like, it's all hands on deck. It takes a lot. Even as a vendor at the African American Culture Festival, I employed not only like my normal employees, but several local teams to help us like get folks to the table, to get the products out. There's just so much collective work and responsibility that goes into pulling an event like that off. And we're fortunate to have that an event like that to celebrate our culture. But it definitely is a key indicator of the importance of collective work and responsibility, right? Because it just shows us like how much we need everybody's like input and attendance and volunteerism and assistance and all of that goes into pulling something like that off. But it's always a great time, so it's all worth it.
I mean, for those of you who don't know or understand what that festival looks like, they block off an entire street in the middle of downtown Raleigh for Labor Day weekend and let the Black folks have it. Yes. I mean, it is amazing. I mean, there are artisans, there are food trucks, there are performers, not only nationally recognized performers on the main stage, but they also give performers locally an opportunity to perform. Children's groups are there. There's a section dedicated specifically to children. Mm-hmm. There are also tons of resources that are available at some of those booths. There's information that goes out. Small businesses can rent a booth and sell their products or just bring awareness to what it is they're doing, where they are. And it's such a phenomenal weekend. You see everybody downtown. Like, if you haven't seen folks for 2 years, just make your way to the festival. They're going to be there.
That's
it's like a gigantic family reunion. And some of the pillars of Kwanzaa are in gathering, making sure that we come together, we share space and celebration and education. And like, it just touches on so many of those things, maybe not specifically principles of Kwanzaa, but certainly the pillars of Kwanzaa are always recognized and represented there.
Absolutely.
Grady, tell me a little bit about how Kwanzaa just walks in your everyday life.
Well, I think that the concept of Kwanzaa is, family, community, and faith. So that is who I am. You know, I think my everyday I'm motivated by my family. I make decisions based on my faith, and I believe that, you know, as I became in positions that I am in, you know, I owe my community that responsibility to uplift all of us. So Kwanzaa, the concept itself is, you know, basically truly my everyday life.
I love that. And I can truly attest to that. Knowing you personally, I can thumbs up that a million times.
Thank
Do you
you.
have any closing thoughts for us this evening?
Well, you know, I just want to say one, Chanda, thank you for taking your time to making sure people understand the concept of Kwanzaa. You have had put together an extremely extraordinary board of people that can not only tell their truths, but kind of give a different light about Kwanzaa itself. You know, I think one of the realities is that, you know, even though Kwanzaa's been around since 1966, a lot of people really don't understand it, and we just have the you know, we don't understand the concept, or they think that it's something that you're competing with Christmas, and it's not.
Mhm.
And I think the reality is that, you know, it is you know, it's a great story, understanding the concept of working together, you know, unifying our community, being putting your family first is what Kwanzaa symbolizes. And so it is something that, you know, there is a need for us to continue to tell that story.
That's the truth. And I'm grateful that I have friends and community members and family members who are able to join me and help me uplift something that's become so quintessential to my life.
Absolutely.
And I'm just grateful that everybody has said yes and has, showed up for me in this amazing way.
So let's just talk a little bit about the importance of Kwanzaa in your everyday life. How do you walk and talk and hold this in your heart 365, outside of the 7 days that we are allotted for Kwanzaa?
Okay, sure. So, in addition to like the preparation and everything that goes into getting my family ready for Kwanzaa, because we put quite a bit into that, of course. But in addition to just that, we try to embody Kwanzaa principles 365 all year long. So, our three main holidays are Juneteenth, Kwanzaa, and Black History Month. But we try to embody those principles all year long. So, I'm teaching my children about collective work and responsibility. When I'm talking to my son about, okay, not just get in there and wash the dishes. I'm talking to him about it's important that you wash the dishes while your dad preps the food so that I can cook it. Because where I'm talking about that symbiosis and how it helps our family unit. And I'm explaining these principles and explaining how the Kwanzaa principles translate to our daily life. So I try to make sure that we're always just teaching and embodying those principles at all times, not just with my own family unit, but even outside. So when we're doing like our lessons and everything, like with my business or my nonprofit, I'm teaching folks about the importance of like economic uplifting us together economically, and how that's so important and how that translates to the work of my nonprofit. And even when I'm talking to donors, I'm talking about that, about cooperative economics. I'm talking to other Black folk about, hey, we need to work together. I'm talking about mutual aid and how that is a translation of cooperative economics. I mean, just in so many different ways, honestly. But listen, I live this thing, okay? So I make sure I embody it with my children, in my work, in my workplace, outside of my nonprofit, just everywhere. I'll talk to anybody who will listen about the Kwanzaa principles.
And I think that's something that has been striking for me. I've been celebrating Kwanzaa since I was 6 or 7 years old. Um, but it was always from the perspective. I was Jack and Jiller, Jack and Jill,
Okay.
and Jack and Jill had these gigantic, enormous, like fun-filled, super festive Kwanzaa Fest every year. And, all of the children and the teens would have to present for Kwanzaa, and you would have to like memorize your section, and you had to light the candles properly. So they were teaching us Kwanzaa. We were learning the principles, but we did not have a concept of stretching it beyond the party that we were having, the Karamu feast that we were having that night. And so when I came back to Kwanzaa in 2020 in writing the book and doing all of the research and pulling all of that stuff together, it occurred to me that, oh, wait, oh my God, no. It's way more than the thing that I loved and missed and enjoyed and wanted to celebrate. It is a lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And so it just kind of triggered in me this sense that, oh wait, but I do that. Oh wait, but I do that. Oh wait, but yeah, that too. You, in so many unconscious ways, walk this out. And for me, the journey has been about being much more specific, about using the language, much more specific about identifying it, planning it out in advance, and helping others to see it in its full dimension as well. So I absolutely love that you are also a woman who is walking through the world with a Kwanzaa gele on at all times, like this invisible head wrap of amazingness. And I'm just so grateful that you've been able to spend a few moments with me today to just talk about Ujima specifically. So let me
be here.
I just want to offer you the floor and let you have a few moments, if you will, to give us any of your final thoughts about this topic, this principle, others. Tell us and remind us where we can find you and how we can help you, to do the work that you have your hands on at this point too.
Thank you so much. So Reclamation FARMacy, you can find us on all platforms at Reclamation FARMacy. So RECLAMATION FARMACY. So we're reclamationpharmacy.org. We are Reclamation FARMacy on Instagram, on Facebook. And we really do embody the principle of collective work and responsibility. So we really appreciate volunteers. We have recurring volunteer days. We're always looking for weekly recurring volunteers, core volunteers, weekly waterers, weekly weeders, folks that are willing to come out to our urban farm space to help us tend the farm, folks who are willing to help us harvest and pack food. And work in the garden. If you feel like you don't have garden skills and are not interested in learning, that's something you're not interested in learning, then that's fine too. We're always seeking help with like social media or whatever your skill set might be. If you have skills in accounting or grant writing or any of those things, we're always seeking help from the community with all of that. We're always seeking donors to help us do this work. It takes money to do this work. It takes help to do this work. And we can do more and impact more people with a bigger budget. So we welcome donations. Again, our website is reclamationpharmacy.org. You can contact us via email at contact@reclamationpharmacy.org. You can call us or text us at 919-808-2211. And we always appreciate community support because collective work and responsibility is what it takes for us to uplift the community and teach these skills. Thank you for this opportunity.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad that you spent a little bit of time with me today. I have enjoyed myself, and I know that the viewers have enjoyed themselves. They've gotten some gems out of this conversation, and I can't wait to invite you back so that we can have more conversation about all the ways that you have advanced and been successful, because people have tuned in and found you because of this presentation, because of the time that you spent here. I'm really, really looking forward to that.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, for the invitation. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I'm privileged to be a part of it. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Back to her information. I mean, look at this woman's headshot. I asked for a headshot, and I was full on expecting glamour shots, like all up, because she's beautiful. Shy is absolutely gorgeous. And she sent me this. She said, I'm in my overalls. I got on these kicks. Here's my wheelbarrow. We getting it in. So please, if you have a moment, go and find Shy Palmer at Reclamation Pharmacy. And then our friend Grady Bussey, you can find him on the socials. You can definitely find him on the socials. He is a social media maniac. Um, his Instagram is the real Grady Bussey, and he's on TikTok at Grady Bussey. There is also a Facebook group for Onyxx Entertainment. If you just go to Facebook and search Onyxx Entertainment, they will pop right up for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining us on night 3 for Ujima here at the Kwanzaa, a modern celebration for 2023. Season 2, y'all. I'm so excited that we are back. We are having a fantastic time, and we'll see you soon.